In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And in the grimmer darkness of modern-day live-action adaptations, there is usually disappointment. This goes double for the fantasy genre, which 40K is a part of if we're being honest. While you personally may have enjoyed shows like The Rings of Power, The Witcher, Wheel of Time, or even Halo, you can't deny that a large part of the audience was dissatisfied, to say the least. Unlike The Rings of Power with its very established Lord of the Rings live-action foundations and source material, or The Witcher with its relatively simple plot and visuals, the Warhammer 40K IP is perhaps one of the most difficult to get right. Paradoxically, however, also one of the easiest. To get the very obvious stuff out of the way first, I think proper funding from Amazon and enough time in the oven for the special effects department will be able to produce satisfactory visuals. I think it is possible, with enough creativity and the right budget, to showcase both the scale of 40K and to represent its fantasy elements in the right way. Psykers, demons, space travel, and even space marines, if done right, can certainly immerse you into the world of Warhammer. Obviously, regardless of the writing direction, if the visual factor in such a visual medium is not done right, I think the show will be dead on arrival. Making a show about the epic that is the Horus Heresy, the Indomitus Crusade, or the Fall of Cadia, and either shying away from the epic moments due to visual restrictions or showing them in low-budget CGI will be detrimental to the show. The good thing about 40K is that it is more of a platform than it is a story. It's an entire galaxy in which you can tell whatever tale you want. This can range from a massive epic or supernatural horror all the way to crime fiction or a political drama. You can delve deeper into the fantasy or instead focus on the science fiction of it all. The choices are endless, and the showrunners can balance their writing expectations with the visual end result that they have the means of achieving. This, however, may be difficult to balance, as the expectations from the community are so high right now that releasing a 40K show about life within the Adeptus Administratum may be slightly disappointing. Now, with the visual aspect of it out of the way, let's get into the actual adaptation of Warhammer 40,000. I trust that if Henry Cavill has enough weight in the production and is surrounded by like-minded individuals that understand and, most importantly, respect the themes and feeling of 40K, the show will be in good hands. Specifically though, what can the showrunners do in order to make the show the best it can be, while remaining faithful to what makes Warhammer, Warhammer? First and foremost, the show must not fall into that famous trap of trying to make it for everybody. Warhammer inherently cannot be for everybody. In fact, most things cannot be for everybody, and if you try to pursue that goal, it will end up being for nobody at all. For example, Game of Thrones was massively successful. Its writing and production helped immensely, especially in the beginning, and yet it had specific traits that were characteristic of it, for better or for worse. Its excessive violence, plot twists, depravity were not for everybody, and that's okay. Without them though, Game of Thrones wouldn't be the Game of Thrones we know today, or we knew. Not everyone cares for the Lord of the Rings and its themes of kingship, faith, brotherhood, and so on. I know my girlfriend enjoyed it, but wasn't as into it as I am, not in a long shot. The thing is, if you change the Lord of the Rings to make it about something that she would care about more, she still wouldn't really be that into it. The only difference is that you'd likely lose me too. I'm sure there are countless other examples of this phenomenon that you can think of, but you get the point. Warhammer is violent, it's gritty. There is no black and white, no good and evil. Just bad, evil, and the epitome of evil. That may cause conflict in the audience. It may make you doubt, make you think twice about who you're rooting for. In the end, you may even grow to hate the Imperium, but if you care about the future of humanity at all, you know that it is the only chance we have to survive. To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark future there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Not every person is going to enjoy the protagonist, for example, being a religious fanatic, worshipping the master of mankind, ordering thousands of so-called heretics to their deaths. They may not enjoy the angels of death and their absolute brutality and fanaticism, how often they disregard common humanity. And they certainly may not enjoy the helplessness that 40K as a setting is supposed to make you feel. In Star Wars terms, the good guys of Warhammer are the Imperials that want to kill Andor, not the other way around. The good guys are those that quell rebellions, not those that start them. Your protagonist isn't going to save the Imperium, make the world a better place, or have a happy ending. If he does, you miss out on a core theme of Warhammer: helplessness. You win the war, there is already another one. You survived, you'll die next time. If you don't have that, what you end up with is just Star Wars. And that's okay, I love Star Wars, but it isn't Warhammer. Warhammer is not a Hollywood production. It can certainly feel like it in its most epic, over-the-top moments, but this isn't the setting where the lead gets the love interest and the credits roll. From that alone, I guarantee you're going to miss out on a lot of people. Not wanting to mention my girlfriend again, but even if you do abandon these themes and create a standard Hollywood story, she's still not going to like the violence or the dark gothic aesthetic. You'll just end up disappointing both of us. I may be exaggerating a little, but it's important that the writers fulfill the creative vision that they want, not that some corporate suits force upon them because charts 1, 2, and 3 said so and we're expecting an earnings call. Obviously, for such a massive production, this will be a difficult thing to balance. Where Amazon is concerned, I and many people were personally disappointed by the likes of the Rings of Power. The people behind it obviously wanted to write their own themes and stories, while utilizing the Lord of the Rings name for brand recognition. However, the secret level episode featuring Titus was perhaps one of the best pieces of Warhammer media that I have personally consumed. It's important to keep in mind that Amazon isn't one thing, but rather a large umbrella that obviously employs different people with different passions for each project. I think that my primary hope where Warhammer as an IP is concerned is that its audience can be big enough without needing to sacrifice what makes Warhammer what it is. The massive popularity of Space Marine 2, for example, and how it translated to increasing the popularity of the books and tabletop shows that the themes of 40K can have a large appeal because the specific audience it attracts is big enough. You don't have to water it down for people to consume it. Just make it into an easily accessible medium like a game or a show, and those that like it will get into the books and tabletop by themselves as their interest deepens. Ultimately, I think, while difficult, the 40K show can be both faithful and successful. The dark, gritty and gothic aesthetic can be achieved. The violence can be satisfying, but not enough that you get bored of it. And the writing can be accurate to the themes of helplessness and determination to overcome the odds for the survival of mankind. The CGI, while difficult, can be good with enough time, money, and smart use of it in combination with practical effects. It's definitely not impossible, and dare I say, not even unlikely for the show to be, at least, satisfactory. What it all comes down to is willingness and vision. Personally, I think the Horus Heresy and the Primarchs would be too large of an undertaking for a first show. Perhaps a smaller scale conflict and self-contained story would be a better idea in order to balance the difficulty of production and the creative vision of the showrunners, while gaining much needed experience for the future. This could act as the 40K universe's own Iron Man type project that can act as a catalyst for more. So long as, of course, each project is made with purpose and not just for the sake of milking the 40K IP as Marvel ultimately became, at least in my opinion. This may be too much to ask, however. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below. A massive thank you to my channel members, and thank you very much for watching.